Explains why I didn't see it.
Welcome back to BSR TV Summit Point Raceway for round 7 of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship with me, Chris Cohen, joined by Matt Dalton for the first time in the commentary box. Evening, Matt.
Evening, Chris.
And we've just seen a thrilling qualifying session involving a pole position time which was very hard to beat from Stelian Czepelewski, second place from Richard Wilde, third place from Andreas Katz. And we're just waiting now to go to the grid for the first round. The drivers will be out on the track, hopefully getting a little bit of warm-up. 12 laps. I know it says on your screen 12 minutes for each race, but it should say 12 laps, so apologies for that. 12 laps round for this first race. The grid positions, the finishing positions of the first race will determine the grid positions for the second, and then the reverse grid comes into effect, so the top 10 positions from race 2 will be reversed, so 10th will start on pole, and pole will start on 10th, which could make for an exciting third race. But we saw in that last qualifying session, Matt, a surprising result from Ellis Stevens, who only managed 24th on the grid.
Yeah, real shock to see Ellis down there. I was going to be interested to see what he can do from back there, and I know from the Twitch channel here that you've got Graham Smith who says he's going to give it some large from the back as well, so it should be an interesting start.
Where did Graham qualify? Because it was in the 30s, I believe, is it?
I can't see from you at the moment, mate.
No, I can't see either, unfortunately, but we'll bring you the top 10 anyway while we're waiting for the drivers to get warmed up. Richard Wilde currently leads the championship by a full 20 points, just about to break the 3-digit barrier. Andreas Katz is in second place. Good season for him so far. Stelian Czepelewski, who scored poorly last time out at Lime Rock Park, is in third. Julian Janowski, his Addison Lee teammate, is in fourth. Simon Field shares fifth place with Dan Hunt. Last season's champion Ellis Stevens is seventh. Eighth goes to David Burnett. Last season's runner-up is Adam Terry in ninth, and Robert Fagg is 10th. Now tell me, Matt, these two guys, Ellis Stevens, Adam Terry, so close finishing last season. There's got to be a little bit of a rivalry, a little bit of a spark between those two guys, and even if they don't manage to win this season, which is less and less likely considering there's some really fast guys out there, that surely they're gonna just want to finish a little bit ahead of their main rival this time round.
Yeah, absolutely, and I know Ellis will tell you that there were no hard feelings at the end of last season, but I can pretty much guarantee you that the way it ended, Adam Terry will have a fairly hefty set of, he'll want to do well this season. That'll be burning there somewhere.
And it's worth reminding the viewers who didn't catch last season that Adam Terry had an 18-point advantage coming into the final 3 sessions, and through circumstances which were almost entirely beyond Adam Terry's control, it was pretty much handed to Ellis Stevens. Terry involved in a nasty first race incident that put him down in the 20s and from which he never recovered. Heart and mouth moment as Stevens disconnected in the final race, where he only needed a handful of points, but actually came back from the dead almost with his poor connection, but managed to hold out to the end of the race, and actually he took the championship in the end, and it came right down to that final race, so we couldn't have asked for a more exciting season finish from where we were sitting.
No, absolutely. I mean, it really showed just how competitive this series was for the entire year, and shows what a good job the guys did organising it as well. But it went right down to the wire, and Adam, had some terrible luck in that last set of races at Brands Hatch, and Ellis got a little bit fortunate with his connection holding out when we all thought it wouldn't, and that can be the difference.
And Adam was kind enough to speak to us on BSR TV to recount the events of last season, especially the end of last season, and that video is available on the YouTube channel if you care to check that out. And we're about 2 minutes away from the grid here for the 7th round of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship, Season 3, the new and improved season, and there's some big grids out there. We saw 37 qualifiers, so we fully expect to see 37 people on the grid, and potentially 2 more, Matt, because there's 39 spaces, and you don't necessarily have to set a qualifying time, although you will start from the back if you don't, but it's not a necessity, is it?
Nope. So there's 2 more spaces, so anybody who's sat watching at the moment who's debating whether to get involved or not, as long as you're signed up to the league, get in here.
I'm showing 35 in the session at the moment, so we've actually lost 2. It's possible that 2 people decided their time wasn't good enough, maybe, and didn't, or maybe those 2 people are still taking a break and haven't actually managed to get in the session yet. I'm not too sure about that, but we can actually have a quick look at Graham Smith, who is now still driving from Welch Motorsport, who was a kind of a temporary fixture for some of last season. He's not in the highest grid position, but he's determined. You've spoken to Graham, and he's determined to actually force his way through the field, hopefully not too aggressively, but to make some ground up. And it's certainly possible. I doubt he'll get to the top 10, but it's certainly possible out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's as we said earlier, if you can get yourself around the first couple of laps clean, with the way that this track is and the way that the field is going to be bunched up, then you're in a good position to make up some places and possibly get some points. And Graham's no different in amongst that. I know he did mention on the Twitch feed earlier that he was going to nail some parts of himself to the wall going towards the corner. So, providing the discomfort's not too great, he may actually stand a chance of making some spots up.
Yeah, it sounds like something from a scene of a crucifixion or something, but it's probably worth stressing to him that it's not actually, there's no real G-forces involved in this kind of racing, as we just see 2 CQR teams battling it out in the warm-up session, as the warm-up just comes to an end, in fact, on board with Matt Webb there. The CQR boys actually have their names down the side of the cars, although unless you're watching in super-duper high resolution, I'm not sure you'll be able to make him out. You might be better off looking at their numbers. Heading to the grid then, which will be led by Stelian Chepelewski on the run down to turn 1. If you were leading this grid down to turn 1, how would you be approaching this?
He needs to get off the line is the first and foremost, and I think providing he can get off the line, the next thing is probably to just move yourself to the right, position the car in the middle of the track, make sure you don't leave a gap for anybody to do anything particularly silly, and then it's the first corner should be yours. 12
laps around Summit Point, and we normally find with these races, as we just head to the grid now, in fact, we normally find with these races that there's just so much to talk about, and we can't fit it all in. So one thing that is going to help this week, though, is the different coloured wing mirrors on certain cars that have been introduced just to help us in the commentary box determine who's who. And we've got a green wing mirrored eBay Motors car on the left hand side of your picture in 3rd place, just in front in the pole position, who is currently blinking, unfortunately, as the lights go on. Stelian Chepelewski makes his way on the grid, and Richard Wilde is the blue and white car on the right as we're ready to go from Summit Point Raceway. Round 7 is green. The cars make their way off the line down to the first corner.
Richard Wilde's got a good run there on the outside,
and Katz, in fact, has gone down the other side. He's trying to squeeze through the middle. He's tucked in behind Chepelewski now. They're all making their way down to the first corner, and this is where the carnage is going to happen. Wild looking to go around the outside.
Here we go, some at the back.
Wild sideways. Wild's off. Wild is off. He's coming back on. He's caused a bit of an incident as we've lost one of the CQRs at the back, and it's all getting a little bit messy round there. We seem to be fairly clean though, but Richard Wilde is down quite a few places there already.
Yeah, a little mistake, got a little bit wide. The rest of the field actually did really well to avoid him, but somebody's just gone sideways at the back there, one of the Pertec cars.
Well, that's a shame for those guys. One of the CQR Fantas was sideways as well. As we look at that, Chepelewski, there's an Airwaves car and then Katz. So let's catch up with the leaders from this race.
And Simon Field, I think it was, has just gone off and into the tyres quite hard as well.
Simon Field's still running, so it's not Field, but it could have been one of the other Wicks racing
definitely
cars.
One of the Wicks cars.
So our timing is still not quite correct. It's showing No, it is correct. Chepalewski is in the lead of the race. That's better. Second place is Mark Fletcher, so that's the Airwaves car. How he sneaked into second ahead of Katz, I'm not sure, but that's interesting. So Katz is currently third as we round out the first lap, with Field in fourth place coming down the start-finish straight. We're on board with Andreas Katz.
Yeah, Damien Harrison it was, went off into the tyres early on.
Katz hard on the brake. Katz is a little bit out of shape. Yeah. He's kept it in shape.
Simon Field who sat there in fourth like a predator, he'll just be watching all of this and probably laughing himself.
And of course Richard Wilde went off on the first corner and then held up the field, so there's a bit of a gap down to fifth place. We're looking at Laura Bond's actually dropped down to 12th from her grid position of 10th. Hefford's now up to 13th, doing pretty well there. We got one of the CQRs just behind. That's Craig Burleson, the new CQR, the new team, I suppose. Coming through the hairpin for the second time. It's all single file now, pretty much. Laura Bond's under a bit of pressure from Stephen Hefford. Wonder if he might make a move any minute. He was certainly faster, except for the last phase of qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim Mawson has made a great start from 15th to get up to 10th.
So Mawson up to 10th, yeah, you're right. And Osvath is in 9th at the minute. Let's just get those positions on the screen at the moment. So Chepalewski from Fletcher, from Katz, from Field, and championship leader Richard Wilde is now down in 5th place now. As Hefford goes out wide here. Oh, and there's contact. Hefford seems to have... Oh, has he taken out Bond, or was there a bit of a slowdown there? Or let's have another look at that from another angle. That looks like a bit of a shame. So that white car just in front of the Yuasa Racing of Hefford. Hefford pulls out wide here, and yeah, he gets loose on the grass, and he's collected Bond. So unfortunately, those two have come to blows. Laura Bond's dropping places, and Hefford is now down.
Yeah, he got himself. See, now he's got himself way out of shape there. He's dived across left, got himself way too wide on the grass when he's hit the brakes and just lost his back end.
And he's
certainly going to be off the Christmas card list.
Yeah, you can say that again. And it might well be Matt Webb, who is a CQR car sideways on the first corner, because he's running in 13th now. Chepalewski then has a gap of, let's see, half a second. Only half a second. You can see that on your screen there to Mark Fletcher. And Fletcher is about 0.4 ahead of Katz, and then Field. And they've already lapped. Their orange car in the background is one of the team CQR Fantas, who's been lapped by the top 4 now. And Katz down the inside, but he won't make that work. And Katz will be keen to recover from that, won't he? Because he hasn't actually made up a grid position, but he has kind of swapped out. So Fletcher swapped places with Wilde.
Yeah, and this first 4 rapidly becoming a first 5 here.
Well, Wilde is 2.8 behind, so that orange car at the back of that train is a back marker.
Is that Matthew Webb? Yeah, you're correct. Sorry, he's a back marker. Yeah.
So
he's doing a good job of hanging on with him. He could. I mean, that could cause some carnage if he gets involved with these first 4 guys.
Yeah, well, hopefully he won't be trying to make his way past any of them, even if they do make a small mistake, because that wouldn't be the best. It could definitely upset the top of the order, being a lap down.
Yeah,
Ellis Stevens.
He'd be pretty unpopular if he got involved in those 4.
But Ellis Stevens is now up to 14th place, so Stevens making a good recovery. There's one of the Jack Goffs on the side there that's one of the back markers, so that's not going to gain him any positions. Just up in front of him is Ander Diaz. Burleson is the bright green car up in front, so we'll just head over the start-finish line now. Ellis Stevens. 4 laps down. Stevens is going on the attack though. Stevens coming down into the first corner. He is on the inside. Diaz cuts him up though. Well, it looks like Stevens was expecting that as well, so let's have another look at that just from Stevens' point of view if we can.
It's just what we were saying with Ellis.
Yeah.
He may not be the quickest guy, but he knows how to stay out of trouble. He knows how to make sure that he survives.
Yeah, and I think a lesser driver might have committed to that and might have ended up. And that's one of the CQR Fantas is off onto the grass there. Is that Matt Webb we're looking at there?
Yep.
And yeah, as I was saying, I think a lesser driver might have committed to that move, and there might have been a collision at the first corner. But I mean, you've got to say, it looked to me like Stevens was down the inside there. So I'm questioning. Oh, and Stevens is right on the tail there of. He's going to go for it down the inside again. So let's see what happens here, Matt. He's gone
very, very tight. He's got a nice clean pass done there, but Andy Diaz is going to have a good run at him back out the corner. He may well try and get him back down the straight.
So Diaz, down the start, finish straight behind Stevens. He's got a better run, but not by much.
No, Ellis did a real good job of slowing him up on the apex there to make sure he kept this thing down the straight.
Well,
so,
he's lost it.
He's lost it.
And he's collected Stevens.
And he's collected him.
Wow, just what you were saying might happen there. And we've got more carnage going on behind. There's more cars off. What is going on there? So that, Stevens will be absolutely fuming with that. Just look at that on the slow-mo. Diaz is down the inside. So. He's on the grass.
Rightly so, he should be angry with that. I mean, that was a real rookie move. Andy Diaz was at least 2 or 3 car lengths back. There was absolutely no way he was going to make the move there, and what he's done by positioning himself down the inside has always made that likely to happen.
And a dyno jet gets collected by another one of the UASs. So in one corner, 2 UASs causing 2 collisions there, both in a similar fashion. And,
almost identical.
Let's see who that was that is been pushed off there. It's difficult to say from the replay, unfortunately, but
synchronized T-boning, I think they'd call that.
Well, that's a new one on me, but Diaz is showing us. He's down in 18th at the moment. Well, what's happened to Stevens? That's the question.
It looks like Stevens had too much damage and had to recover back to the pits. Whether he's decided to carry on or not, I don't know.
Well, let's go back to the lead of the race for the moment. After that little drama, with Stelian Chapelewski's now over a second in front of Fletcher. But Fletcher is still under pressure from Katz. But look at Field right behind this group. So we'll go on board with Field and we'll just watch that group there. 3 cars within a second of each other at the front.
Yeah, it's tight. And Simon is sort of sitting almost, you could say, in the box seat at the moment. He's watching the guys in front of him having a good little scrap. If Katz decides to get a little bit ragged with Mark Fletcher, then there's anything could happen, and Simon's just ready there to pick up the pieces. Chapelewski looks like he's making a break for this, for me, though. I think this looks like a real quick lap.
And we're on board with Katz now, just looking at the back of Mark Fletcher's Airways racing car. Best performance we've seen from an Airways car this season, and he gets a little bit wide, so Katz will be looking to take advantage of this. A little slide, but Katz has not been able to do anything about it this time round.
No, that's a corner where you can use a lot of exit curve to try and get a bit of momentum, and as we say, because it leads onto the longest straight, it is probably the most important corner on the track. So
Katz just poking his nose out there on lap 8, just having a quick look, but won't get round this time. Field looks to be dropping off a little bit, and in fact Richard Wild, who is currently in 5th, is being chased down by Robert Fagg, and there's about half a second gap, and then another half a second to Hristo Ublev. Oh no, it's a bit more than half a second. In fact, it's 3 seconds, as you can see on your screen there. But there's a nice train forming just behind Hristo Ublev there, and you can see there's Terry, Zoltan, Ausfath, and David Burnett. There's a 4-car little train going on there. So worth keeping an eye on that one to see what happens with these guys. Terry in 8th, will be happy with that, I think. Quite a good position for him at this stage of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting that, we were saying earlier about surviving the races, and it's interesting to see fortunes from the end of last season reverse, with Adam Terry getting a little bit of fortunate and making up some places, whilst Ellis suffers a bit of Andy Diaz's talentectomy and has to recover himself.
Osvath having a look round down the inside there. Terry holds the position though. Osvath now though, having a look both sides, is he? Right on the tail of Adam Terry, and David Burnett is wise to this one. He'll make an effort here as well, I imagine. Terry looks to take the defensive line down into turn 1 on lap 9. He's gone defensive. No one panicked there. It's nice to see. Oh, and Osvath into the back of Terry, but just a gentle kiss. Burnett now coming around the other side, looking to make he's going to be on the outside, so it's going to be difficult, but Osvath has been known to take a dive down the inside at this particular corner in the past. Can't do it this time.
Yeah,
no
Adam driving well. There's, sensible defensive line, just making it difficult for anybody to overtake. A little bit of bump and run, but this is touring cars, it is a bit of a contact sport. That's not necessarily a problem.
And we're side by side now into the hairpin there behind. David Burnett has just got through.
That's a great move.
And that's one that's worth seeing again, I believe. So we'll have a look at that from Burnett's perspective. as he just forces Osvath to take the wrong line there, and Osvath under braking had to let Burnett go.
Yeah, he set that up on the exit of the first corner and got real close, and then just able to pressure him into making a mistake. Puts the car perfectly down the inside, and that's a textbook pass.
Well, with 3 laps to go here at round 7 from Summit Point, Katz is still in 3rd, and still no progress made, so the top 4 look to be settled. I can't see them changing unless anyone makes a mistake. Richard Wilde, what's happened to Wilde? He's out. He's out from 5th, so let's go back to a quick replay of this and have a look as he comes round the hairpin. We'll find out what happens to him here. He's got field up ahead, that's the yellow car you can see there. Looks to have closed the gap a bit as well. Rob Fagg's just behind him, flashing a little bit there. He's just coming through the S's here, onto the back straight. And he's gone.
That just looks like a straight disconnect.
He's gone, so he's disconnected. Richard Wilder's disconnected, which is a real shame, but he is the championship leader at the moment, so well, that's shaking things up a bit, because that's moved Robert Fagg up into 5th, and Terrier's now up into 7th. So coming a little bit further down the field then, with not
Ellis
too long
Stevens
to
is
go
back
at all.
going. He's decided to limp himself around and try and pick up. Well, he's going to 34th place, so I don't think he's going to pick anything up.
No points, and it's worth.
Might as well give that one up and go and pick up the keys.
Yeah, well, he might, if he gets any grid positions, he'll be starting further up the field than he is currently. So it might be
that's
worth
true.
a go. So Peter Van Gool down to 17th. That's the eBay Motors car of Steve Richardson just up in front of him. Behind
Mark
him
Fletcher
is
and Andreas Katz side by side here as well.
So let's
These
go back to
two
Katz.
are absolutely all over each other at the moment.
So it's worth going back to Katz at this point, because he's only got 2 laps to make it happen if he wants to make it happen, and he's going down the inside, but Fletcher's having none of that. Down into the hairpin.
No, he's on him like a Harry Krishna on an airport traveller at the moment. He is absolutely monstering that back end of that Airwaves car.
And look at this, Simon Field is getting really close behind them, because obviously those two are both slowed up by this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what we were saying. Simon will sit there. He'll be laughing himself to the podium at this rate.
Well, we'll just see. He's 1 place away from a podium here, but he's going to have to make it happen. If Katz wants any improvement in his position... Oh, and Field's gone in that really hot into the last corner there, putting in everything he can. He's got a bit of gravel there.
Yeah, there's certainly no question of him leaving anything on the table at the end of this race, is he? And Katz has got a real good run here. He's going to have a go down the inside. It's possibly a bit too far away, but...
And we've seen him just poke his nose out on the last few laps as well, so...
yeah,
just can't do
sensible
it.
decision.
It's solid driving from Fletcher. He's done everything right in this race, including take that 2nd position off Richard Wilde quite early. In fact, where did he start? He started 4th, didn't he? So he jumped Katz and Wilde.
Yeah, he's made a good start, and he's run a good race since then. I mean, Chapelewski is in a little bit of a league of his own at the front, but these three are having a proper scrap here. And I don't expect Katz not to try something before the end. He's probably going to give him a little bump and a nudge somewhere.
So final lap, Chepelewski looks to have taken this one, unless anything dramatic happens. Those 3 are literally nose to tail. We'll have to see in the last few corners. If there's one overtaking place left, it will be at the end of the back straight, but Fletcher's only got to hold it. He's slow.
Yeah, he's got a car length or two here. I mean, I think it's going to be difficult. I can't see anybody trying anything silly here. These 3 guys, these guys are all in it for the championship as well. I think they'll keep their powder dry for the next 2 races. And
across the line then, Stelian Chepelewski takes it. Katz is side by side with Fletcher, but Fletcher takes it 2nd place. So Fletcher 2nd, Katz 3rd, and Simon Field holds it well, in fact, for 4th place. Fag 5th, that's Ublev coming through in 6th, Terry in 7th, Burnett 8th, Osvath 9th, and Burleson, the highest CQR placed finisher, is in 10th place. Top 10 finish, pretty good. Stephen McGarity comes home in 11th.
Good result for Scott Malcolm there in 12th.
Excellent result for Scott Malcolm, well done to him. Martin Johnson for CQR Fanta, I believe, comes home in 13th. Dan Hunt, 14th.
Laura Bond finishes 26th.
Down from 10th place, which is a bit of a shame. But
yeah,
we saw that incident earlier.
She's desperately unlucky there. I mean, I don't think Stephen Efford can expect a Christmas card anytime soon, and Probably expect a bit of a tongue lashing after that one.
But like you said, Matt, I mean, very easy to do, very easy to get one wheel on the grass, and in going for that inside manoeuvre, that's what Heffer did. And Stephen's coming off worse though.
Yeah, Ellis is desperately unlucky there. I think it wouldn't be unfair to say that Ander Diaz had a massive talentectomy and just wiped him out.
Oh, talentectomy, I like it. So that's only the first race, and we've packed in all the action we could possibly hope for the entire evening in one race, but I'm sure we'll be rewarded with even more in the second and third races. It's going to be tight up the front. Fletcher is quick, and Katz is not one to lie down.
No. And I think these guys need to work a little bit together. If they're going to stop Chapelewski, who is, he's got some serious pace here. If they're going to stop him, I think they need to get ahead of him into the first corner and, maybe give him a little bit of a bump. If they don't, try and upset him and, get rid of his rhythm a little bit. But should be 2 more cracking races to come.
And we're just being asked here, it's a good point, can we get a replay of the start? That's a good question. So we'll give it a go. I'm not familiar with the controls for this, but let's see if we can get a replay of the start here. Okay, off we go then. We'll just have a look down into turn 1 as the cars come away. Now we're just watching turn 1. And we'll put that in slow motion. Now watch that white and blue car down there, and 2 of the CQRs in the background are actually one of the CQR Fantas and the other CQR get together, and that's why they're off. But in the meantime, Richard Wilde is skidding off there, and Burnett gets pushed out wide. Wilde just misses Fletcher, who sneaks past Katz on the outside there, and there's already a collision in the background, and that's one of the Team Club 44 drivers. One of the other guys did a really good job of avoiding that there. I mean, that could have easily turned nasty. Richard Wilde as well did the right thing when the back end goes sideways. He just stood on the throttle and straightened it up and got going as quick as he could. Surprising from Wilde though, and I believe that's Graham Smith in the background in the white and blue Welch Motorsport. Too much damage on those CQRs to really get back in, which is unfortunate. Those 2 guys, effectively the same team in a different coloured livery, taking each other out there, which is a little bit of a shame, but it can happen.
Yeah, the circus music was playing full blare in the background there for those 2.
Dear, never mind. So full points to Stelian Chapelewski in that last race. Just having a look to see fastest lap in that race as well went to Chapelewski, in fact. So he'll get the bonus point for that. And he was the only driver to lead laps, so he'll get the bonus point for that as well. So I don't think you can score more points than that in one round in this particular series, Matt.
No, that's he's certainly on a mission there. I'm just looking into a report of an incident involving Tim Mawson there, who was running really well at one point in 11th place.
Tim Mawson, so
he's gone into turn 1, and well, Chris Shaw. Wow.
Which lap was that?
All you can say is on lap 10 is Chris Shaw has come out of the pit lane, and his first contribution, having come out of the pit lane, is to go down the inside into turn 1, put his car on the grass, and take out Tim Mawson.
We'll just see if we can get a replay of that. Just coming on round lap 9 there.
Yeah, Tim Mawson just into his lap 9.
So are we talking about coming on to lap 9 or?
Yeah, he's just come on to lap 9, and as he's going into the first turn, in fact, you'll see it here. You can just see the Yuasa car there in front of him.
Wow, that's some impact, and I'm not sure what the Yuasa car's thinking there, but that's
I'm not sure he was thinking.
No, interesting one, and I wonder if we can go back a little bit and have a look at that from. Do you know who the Yuasa driver was?
Chris Shaw looks like he's got some damage. Possibly, that's the only thing I can think of for that. Maybe has some suspension damage, which just unsettles it as soon as he hits the brakes.
We're just looking at that on board there. The car's all over the place on the brakes, and as soon as he hits the brakes there, unfortunately, there's not a lot he can do. So yeah, you're right. That is a big shame for Tim Mawson, who was running quite well up until that point, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he'd made a really good start from 15th to get himself up and going, and he was running well.
Let's see if we can have a quick word with fourth place finisher Simon Field. Are you there, Simon?
I am indeed. Evening.
Evening to you, Simon. You've done extremely well coming home fourth there. Well done. And that was an impressive fight. Couldn't quite get past Katz, though.
To be honest, but for a mistake, I think the three ahead of me had the pace. The pace for me. It looked towards the end that Andreas and I think it was Mark Fletcher, wasn't it? We're going to have a bit of a ding dong, but it never happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really close. I think Katz might have just had the pace, but couldn't find a way round. But it is difficult to overtake on this track, is it not?
Well, yeah, you need to be quick out of that last turn really to get them into one, because there's not a clean passing spot elsewhere on the track. So.
One thing we're noticing, Simon, is a little bit of damage on the front of your car, and Mr. Katz's back end looks like it's been smashed in a little bit. Is that something that happened early in the race, or?
It was just a concertina in it was either lap 1 or lap 2. I think Mark Fletcher was actually slow off in the twisty bit, and I just concertinaed into the back of him. It wasn't anything. No damage was done.
No problems during the race with that?
No. Like I say, it was literally the slightest of nudges. I was surprised to see the damage come up, to be honest.
And coming off the line there, it must have been a bit scary seeing Richard Wilde kind of sideways into that first corner.
I'm just glad to get up the inside of him. I looked in my rearview mirror, and all of a sudden he was on the track where I was a second before. So I was just glad he managed to miss me, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what happened. I think he ran wide, Chet went up the inside, and there was a bit of a coming together. So I'm not quite sure who's to blame for that one.
Well, I didn't look too. I mean, Matt, it didn't look like there was too much contact there from where we were sitting, did it?
No, I'm just having another look at that now, just to see if there was any contact.
But I could be wrong. Not say there was a car in between me and it. But
yeah, there was a little touch.
In all fairness, I think Chet went for a gap that was there, and Richard tried to cover the line too late after running wide. So.
Well, how do you expect to do in a second race, considering you're starting fourth? Pretty much the same again, isn't it?
I reckon so.
In fact, actually, I've got to say that is one of the biggest net codes I've ever seen. There's at least about 6 feet between them.
So we should just explain that what we mean by net code there is that there was some kind of internet lag or something that caused the collision that didn't actually happen. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, Richard and Steph both seem to suffer from a bit of blinking every now and then, so it's not surprising.
Yeah, when we say net code, it's basically where you've got something like a 4 or 5 feet gap between the car, but the cars will react as if they've been clipped. It's something you will get with online racing, unfortunately.
Well, best of luck to you in race 2, Simon. Perhaps we can come back to you before the end of the evening to get your thoughts on the next 2 rounds. But head out to the grid, enjoy yourself, and like I say, best of luck.
All the best. Thanks, guys.
That's Simon Field for Wix Racing. And I'm wondering now if we might be able to get a quick word with a chap who finished a much higher than we thought he would as well. This is Scott Malcolm. I'm wondering if you're there, Scott.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Excellent. Great finish for you, Scott. You must be delighted with that.
I wasn't swear, but yeah.
12th place. Is that your highest result yet?
I think so. No, I think I got. Did I not get 11th in bronze? But yeah, it could be one of my best results. Yeah.
And are you happy with the pace that you've been setting so far?
Yeah, the race pace seems to be alright. Qualifying, still there, but it's what happens in the race.
12th in this next race due to the 12th place finish in the last race. Perhaps maybe you can make up a couple of places in this and get the reverse grid if you get in the top 10.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Hopefully being that far up I can miss all the mayhem at turn 1, because that seems to be my bugbear at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and it wasn't entirely incident free as we predicted. It was a lot better than we thought, but we'll be looking out for you in the second race, Scott. Congratulations once again, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, aye. Cheers.
Cheers, Scott.
Scott Malcolm there, who came home in 12th.
I can tell you, if he manages to get 10th place and gets the pole for the last race, there'll be iron brew everywhere. He will be celebrating something rotten.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. and if you're watching on YouTube, we'll bring that one to an end right there. But we have 2 more races coming up in the iRacing British Touring Car Championship for the evening, rounds 8 and 9 from Summit Point. It can only get better from here, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was that was the first race of 3. Everybody's keeping their powder dry a little bit for the next 2. With the reverse grid in the next race, you'd expect to see some fireworks now for the next 2, definitely.
And it is so easy to pick up damage around this circuit, isn't it? Because 30... How many do we have from the grid? I think it was 35 cars, was it? Something in that region of cars on the grid in that race. So a lot of close contact racing. I mean, you can take a small nudge, can't you? But anything more than that, and you're looking at a handicap time penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. We had 34 finishers and one guy who, by the look of it, didn't start. Darren Leslie, from the Canadian driver, obviously got a little bit of French in him and decided to wave the white flag fairly early on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. A little tiny touch can cause some havoc with the car. So.
And it's worth pointing out as well that generally we don't get more drivers as the evening progresses, so that generally is the lot for the evening. So maybe we'll get 34 back on the grid again, but I would like, if I was racing here, Matt, I would like a smaller grid, but due to the popularity of a series, it's not going to happen again, really, is it? And there's at least 35 pits at all the circuits that are on the tour.
Yeah, and I think that's something the guys take into account when they're looking at the tracks they're going to organise, is to make sure there's enough space to get everybody in that wants to race. And this one is close to the limit more than some others, but they're there or thereabouts. And I think it's a testament to how well they organise it.
Absolutely. I mean, it is very well organised. The grids are all set up manually, and even the reverse grid, and the points are kind of dished out at the end. I'm not sure iRacing has a full support for the bonus points, does it? So that they have to go on manually as well, do they? Yeah,
I think they use the Dan Lisa system. I'm not sure how much automation there is in that or not, but it's certainly something that requires a lot of work by Stephen Ellis, and the guys do a great job.
So we've got about 8 minutes. The session's now up, so we've got about 8 minutes to go before we go back on and get back onto the grid for round 8 of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship here on BSR TV. Going to take a little bit of break, maybe a couple of minutes, and we'll be back very shortly.